This podcast was prepared by the Digression Method. The opinions expressed in this show are those of the hosts and do not reflect the view of the scientists, the Department of Education, or the United States Science Board.
Whenever life gets you down, Mrs. Brown, and things seem hard or tough, and people are stupid, obnoxious, or daft, and you feel that you've had quite enough. Just remember that you're standing on a planet that's evolving and revolving at 900 miles an hour. That's orbiting at 19 miles a second, so it's reckoned. The sun that is the source of all our power. The sun and you and me and all the stars that we can see are moving at a million miles a day.
We're back.
Hi.
Another episode of the Digression Method.
Real happy to be back again.
You sounded.
Yeah.
It's just one of those days. The day we're recording, it's just a rainy day. But
It is a rainy day outside. It's the first heavy rain of the fall, in fact.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've been in Portland, so rain is.
It's been
rain
light
is rain.
up until this point, but
pretty...
this is heavy flow out there today.
Yeah, it's good. The earth likes it, or plants. I should say plants like it. The earth just doesn't.
Electrolytes is what plants crave.
It's like, but what are electrolytes? They're the things the plants crave. Well, what are they? Why do they need them? Because they crave them.
Welcome back! Yay!
Yeah. Second greeting.
Technical differences with the mic. It took us a little bit longer. Well, you guys don't know. We're not live. So
Yeah, I was gonna say that. They don't know about that. You don't have to tell them that my computer was being weird.
This isn't like
I figured it out though. It works. I'm
like
proud of myself, even though it's such a minor fix.
backstage
Okay.
here. We're like giving you the nuts and bolts.
Backstage with the Digression Method.
This is the 24 hours that led up to this event.
Dum dum. Just see me sitting on my bed, reading or whatever, playing some Xbox. Oh man, such a weird digression.
Yeah.
Well, just jump into current events for this week. Just another kind of casual week of what we could find in the world of science. Who wants to? I could start us off.
Sure.
So my article this week was about a synthetic muscle that I forget. I mean, I have the article right here.
And to clarify, this is a muscle in the body muscle, not like food muscle.
No. Yeah, it's just a synthetic muscle that researchers made that you take like ethanol and you take liquid silicone rubber and you mix them together, and then the ethanol forms these weird bubbles, and you embed they kind of form these bubbles and they chill out in the rubber, and they embed this wire in it that you can put some heat in, and then it actually like reacts to the heat, like expands and contracts, and these muscles are like 3 times stronger than natural muscle. Apparently can lift 1,000 times their weight. So now if it's a 1 pound, it can lift 1,000 pounds. And they're planning on using these things for like synthetics. So immediately, like I'll put the link in, and if you go to it, it's on Seeker.com, and it shows. So there's like a video, and it shows like an arm, kind of like a robot arm, and I immediately was just like, we're making the T100 or T1000 or whatever.
Well, and I remember we talked one time about like the idea that like you could like start working on a silicon-based life form, and like maybe where we could attach limbs silicon to human. To carbon.
Yeah, because we're carbon-based life forms, and just below carbon is silicon. And so, in the periodic table of elements, whenever you see the columns, those are elements react similarly. Like they react the same to the same things. And so, hypothetically or theoretically, there could possibly be silicon life. So yeah, that's an idea.
So if we could like do this and just do the muscles that just go shatink, and then you're like, all right, now I'm like,
you just like hook that up to your nervous system. You just make like a robot arm with this muscle, or I just wonder if like you eventually be able to put the muscle in the body.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's
How
like
quickly you could actually repair like a muscle tear or like a ligament tear.
Like if you couldn't
with
use
this
stem
weapon.
cells, or if it's like too powerful for stem cells, because my understanding of stem cells is, you could like inject them to certain spots and they could fix it. I don't know if it's that miraculous of a thing, but yeah, you could just import some of this synthetic muscle and then actually have a stronger, muscle wherever you tore or
Like,
had to replace it.
I tore my fucking ankle skateboarding. Let me inject some of this shit into it and let's go back skating.
And then you'll never come see me again.
Yeah, well, that makes me think of, and I like Joe Rogan. I listen to his podcast, and he's talked about, he's had like knee tears and like ACL, MCL, whatever. I don't know exactly what it is. You'd have to hear him talk about it. But he said that the doctors put a cadaver Achilles heel in his knee. Or Achilles tendon, not heel, Achilles tendon. They had put one of those in his knee, and it's actually stronger. So it's like if you can do something like that, then eventually, this stuff's very new. It's not like you can use it in like 5 years. Maybe in 5 years, it'll be, around more, I guess. But it's still in its infant stages. But that'd be so cool. It's just like, oh, I don't have to take a cadaver or tendon, which I mean,
I can just grow this muscle at home and then just whap-ow.
Maybe not even grow it. It's like maybe eventually you just 3D print it and then give it to a doctor or doctors just create it for you.
I
you
just
don't have
can't
to like
imagine.
hope for a cadaver. You can just create.
I just can't imagine you're like
that'd be cool.
Standing there. You're like you're in like the surgery room. Everybody's in like full garment, and they're not around the person on the table that has their ribs open, but instead they're standing around this printer that's just like doo, doo, doo,
you just see the light. What's
like,
taking so long?
My goodness!
Hold on.
How many people?
Smack it.
Susan, I told everybody to get off the internet right now. It's bogging us down.
Come on. That would be that'd be cool. You're just on like Mars, and you've got your little surgery room, and you just 3D print all of your tools that you're going to use for the surgery, like sharpen your knife or whatever, and then just print out the muscle, and then like, oh yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
This is easy.
We'll put this heart in for you, no problem.
That's I never thought about that. I didn't say anything about like heart muscles, but if this stuff's
heart is
super
a muscle.
strong, and exactly, that's why it just made me go like, ooh, well, theoretically, you could maybe not, possibly make a stronger heart. You don't. Oh man, that's a cool. I didn't even think of that. Like that's a cool concept. You just create. If this stuff is stronger than natural muscle, and if you could somehow fuse it with the human body, you could create a stronger heart, and you don't have to heart transplant or anything. If you can just avoid that, that's just the best. It's like, I don't need to find somebody. I can just make it.
I just printed this
I
heart.
just printed a heart out. What you know about that?
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah. Synthetic muscles are on the way.
Like Android, and like instead of having these like fake ass looking like robots, then they would actually have like real kind of muscles.
Yeah, like you think of C-3PO, clomp, 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 clomp. Well, this type of muscle would make it like a person. They'd just be smooth, walking like a person.
Be like Westworld status.
Yeah, it's an android. You don't even know. It's like, oh well, yeah, the synthetic butler, and it's one thing with robots is they're so rigid. But if you can have something like muscle, it's very loose but very strong. It's like, we're gonna have T-1000s roaming around. There's gonna be drones and walking armies of robots fighting each other on like distant planets. You mark my words.
If not already happening right now.
Star Wars stuff in a galaxy far, far away.
Recently was like, we'll never make it beyond Mars because robots are the future, and that is where what we'll be sending out instead of humans. Like, we'll just transfer our consciousness, or I don't think he said that much, but like it made me think of like transferring consciousness into like android bodies and then just going out into the galaxy as like drones.
Yeah, and even if you can't transport the body, if you can kind of like, or not the body, the consciousness into the robot, you could, if you could figure out how to make the communications instantaneous, because that's one problem, you could do a VR. You could just send a robot to Mars and then have it like power down, and then the researcher comes in, puts the headset on, thing stands up, he's just walking around, and it's on Mars walking around. He just has the first person perspective. He's got gloves or whatever. He can do whatever tests that he needs to do. That's one problem with sending rovers, is there's only so many things they can do, and if they get stuck on something, or in one of them, I don't remember which rover, but its wheel broke, so it was dragging it along. I mean, there's only so many things you can do. That's why you want to send people. You can do more experiments and more complicated things. Like, well, if you could send an android that's nice and, durable and doesn't need to breathe or anything, just give it some cool, like, solar cells and stuff, and you're on your way. VR on Mars.
Or you could just put your brain inside of a metal casing, and you could become...
But you have to transport your brain to Mars. It's like, well, if you could just VR... I mean, like, that's the same as sending something out, like, androids or artificial intelligence out to do our discovery for us, because it's safer. So, and you wouldn't even have to, with the stuff we have now, you wouldn't even have to be there. You could do all the stuff yourself through the robot. You just take your helmet off and be like, that was awesome. I just spent 13 hours on Mars doing experiments. Even though, obviously, you're not there, it'd be a lot better if you could walk around.
Actually be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just more dangerous. It's like, if you were deep under the ocean in the suit, it's like, well, you if you're trying to do tests down there, you could do it, but it's very dangerous. Send a robot. Who cares? He gets crushed. Oh no, we lost the robot.
Oh no, like $5 trillion, whatever.
And I didn't have to spend even more to fly to the place. I mean, yeah. I'm all down for robots. When you hear about the Terminator, robots will take over the world, I'm always like, well, why? That's an assumption. They'll look and see what's wrong. It's like, well, if they're a consciousness like us, I think they'll be just as confused as we are. I don't know. Well, let's move on.
Consciousness comes with a toll.
Yep.
Yeah.
As it, yeah. There's a price to pay.
Well, my article this week was about, recently they did some studies of different honey products made by bees, and they studied over 200 different products from around the world and found that in 75% of the products that they studied, they found the neonicotinoid, which is like a bee pesticide that they use to kill bees.
I heard about this. I had seen it in the quest for finding an article, and I was like, oh no.
Yep. They had like higher concentrations in the United States, so they had like 90% of what they tested from here like had it, and Europe had like 80%. And
did it say anything? Because I didn't really look too far into it. I just saw like the cover or the heading a couple times, and I was like, no, that sucks. Did it say if that affects the bees or how it affects the bees?
Well, it's a pesticide designed to kill bees.
Yeah, but they're getting it. Is it messing with them biologically? If it's obviously it's not killing them, and then it's getting into the honey, so it's going through the process of, it's being squirted on the plants, and they're collecting the pollen and the nectar used for it, and then coming back not dying.
Well, and I know that it said a little bit in the article about like how it can cause not only like abnormalities in the bees, but like it can mess with their sensories and like how they actually find their way back. And
that's what happens with colony collapse syndrome. I think it's what it's called, where something happens, which I've heard telephone or cellular phones, and that radiation and stuff that stuff emits, that messes with them. So then they can go out, they can fly around, but they can't really get themselves back. And then next thing you know, the colony dies. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yay, no more bees. That sucks. Like, no. But
And then, like, the article also kind of talked about, we don't know what the long-term effects of these pesticides are to the human body over time. Like, we know that in each of, like, the cases, there's not a lethal amount or enough to really you even notice it, but it's like, yeah, but if you eat honey, like, for 30 years that has that in there, what is that going to do over 30 years?
If it's starting to show up, and then, like you're saying, for the new generations that are using it, it's like, you're gonna poison. And I love honey.
Getting slowly
I love
poisoned.
me some honey, man.
Slowly
so
poisoned.
Good. I've heard...
Interesting to go along with bees. Recently I saw a video that said that, we shouldn't be so concerned about bees dying, but we should definitely be concerned about, like, what if all cats for some reason died. Because apparently they're the one animal that is able to, like, hunt down mice and rats and things successfully. And
like
so,
cats?
yeah, cats.
Yeah.
And so, if for some reason they were to disappear all of a sudden, or like, some plague happened and like wiped out of the feline population, then we'd see a dramatic increase in rats and mice, which, as we all know, started the Black Plague.
Yeah, the bubonic plague. And there's a guy in Oregon that tried to save a mouse from a cat, and he got bit, and then he got the bubonic plague. That was a couple years ago.
What a fucking dumbass.
Just let nature take its course.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? Like, no.
You just got
Get out of there. Trying to save a... Oh. Any animal that is wounded, like, my dad was a UPS driver for 20 plus years, and he said, like, he hit a dog once, because he's had quite a few of them, had quite a few stories about hitting dogs, and he hit a dog, and it got, like, I don't know if, it was just wounded, and it was in shock, and then a bunch of other dogs came over, because that's one thing with, like, dogs. If one gets, like, hurt, the others will attack, even if they're, like, family, in quotes, even if they're friendly to each other. It's just that primal thing that even for them, they'll just come in, and so they started attacking this dog, and the woman, she's like an older lady, runs over and goes like, oh, my baby, and then like scooped the dog up, and the dog turned and bit her in the face. And it's like, well, if an animal is in that like fight or flight mode, and they're like fighting, or they're just like they can't flee because they're fucked up, man, don't try to save them. Stay out of the way, especially if like a cat's like attacking. I mean, man, idiot. What an idiot. Let it die. But that sucks. I don't want poison in the honey, because I've heard that honey is one of the few things that just doesn't spoil. Yeah, like, it just, in the right, if you have it properly, like, sealed, it will not go bad. Ever. Like, ever. Because it's just, like, pure sugar. So it just, like, just will not go bad. So if you have a jar of it and it's properly sealed, it's sitting up there, it's been up there for 10 years, like, bust it out and eat it. I bet it's good. Just as good as you're like, oh yeah, I remember putting that up there.
There's honey. Yeah.
There's that jar of honey. What you got for us, Caleb?
That's night honey.
Honey.
Well, as far as the next article goes, in the space of just a few weeks, the LIGO and Virgo collaborations have announced the fourth detection of gravitational waves, and 3 of their most prominent physicists have received Nobel Prizes for their work.
This is where I wish I had like an applause button. I'm going to have to get a soundboard, because, yeah, I remember hearing about like when I went to see Tyson last year, like on the 16th in Eugene. It, like, that's what I was listening to, was a lady talking about LIGO, and they set up the sensors, and then like 3 days later, after turning them on, they found what they were looking for, and they kind of expected it would take a little longer than 3 days, but just immediately gravitational waves, and it's just like, yes.
Awesome, yeah.
So they're gonna like,
yeah, they proved something about space time. I'm not exactly sure what that proves, but like,
well, it's just like large, like when black holes collide, they send ripples like through space-time, like the fabric of it, like gravitational waves.
Yeah.
Because when you think of gravity, it's not like, when you think of a kid, or when you're a kid, it's like you're told it's a force, but it's not like the force where it's just this weird thing that big things pull little things. It's like water, like if you think of a drain and the water's spinning down in the drain, you see the cool little, vortex, and you're like, oh, it's like that's an indentation in the water and everything's falling into it. And anything that gets caught in the inner part that just spins around, then it gets sucked in. It's like, that's what gravity is. It's like an indentation. I think I've talked about this before, of course, because once I watched a video on that helped, explain it, it's just like, oh, you just think of it totally differently. It's like this indentation in space-time, but in every direction.
Yeah.
So these things, two huge things collided, and across a huge amount of that giant, jello, it, rumbled. It, rippled through, and so you can kind of, and they were able to, I think, pinpoint or at least kind of accurately point to where it happened and when it happened. It's just like, that's so cool. Just another aspect of the universe that you can observe, and
Well, what's
I get
cool
pumped about
is
that.
this article goes on to say that on Monday, which would be the 16th, probably the same day this episode is going to be released, but they're going to be announcing something new.
Today.
And everybody's very tight-lipped on the nature of the big announcement, but it's going to be a huge affair, basically. Like, the European Southern Observatory has described it as unprecedented discovery.
Ooh.
And so LIGO, or LIGO, however you say it, Virgo, and 70 other observatories from around the world are holding a press conference at the same time. And we can watch it on either National Science Foundation, the European Southern Observatory website, either of those websites, or IFL Science. They're all going to have a live broadcast of the
big announcement.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm pumped. I'm going to be paying attention today. It's coming out today.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, that's cool. I wonder what Max will think. Whatever it is, we'll have to keep it in mind so that we can ask him for when he comes back. Which I'm pretty pumped for.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that episode. Yeah, Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho! Let's talk about physics.
We're gonna have to try to get a guest. Expect a guest soon. We'll find somebody.
Yeah.
I'm putting that out there.
Sooner, though, we will be having a kind of like a special episode.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's our 1 year into podcasting. So not necessarily our 1 year as a show is the Digression Method, of course, because this is like episode 14 or whatever, so it's obviously not that far. But we did, before we changed the name, we were Science Talks, and we did like 28 episodes, I believe, total. I think that was when we ended season 1, and what we called it, so we decided to change, and now we're on season 2. But it's been a crazy year, and we're gonna have an hour-long episode like we used to, just kind of talking about what we found that was cool during the year, or whatever. We'll just kind of reflect.
Yeah.
And it'll be our Halloween episode, the day we recorded.
Indeed.
It'll be an easy way to keep track of it.
Every Halloween.
I mean, why would you ever do anything that you can't just... I mean, when I quit smoking cigarettes, I quit on April 1st in 2012. And it's like, oh yeah. It's like April Fool. Yeah, exactly. I say it, and it's like, yeah. Oh, no, I didn't.
April Fool's, wait, no, I'm totally serious.
Like,
you're funny, man.
You're so funny. Here, you want a cigarette? Like, no, dude, I told you I quit. When? April 1st. Oh, you're such a prankster. But it's just an easy way to keep track of it. It's just like, oh, yeah. April 1st, 4/1. Okay.
I mean, so anniversaries are important.
Yeah, but sometimes, like some of your friends' birthdays are on, like one of our buddies that's been on is on, like, in September. I'm thinking of Connor's. I think it's on the 19th. I'm just throwing his birthday out there for some reason. It's weird.
Here's his
Like,
phone
God damn it, why
number,
can't it be on
social
the
security
first?
number.
Mine's even weirder on the 17th. It's like, It's like, how do I remember that? God damn it, you pick an odd number. It's just weird.
17. It's only divisible by itself.
Yeah, it's
You
a
animal!
You pick a prime number, you dick. Like, well, I didn't pick it.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
You
No,
did.
I didn't.
You were going to come out on the 16th, but you held on.
I was a C-section baby. I know that. So I didn't choose. They were like, whack. So that I was like, well, I guess I chose to. No.
Yeah.
I'm not that cool.
I think I had to be because, well, you know, my head.
Your fat head.
My head is quite
I'm just
massive.
kidding.
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah.
It's got 1950s
It's
television
got-
television signals orbiting around it.
Boom, 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 boom.
No, I think of Peter, our Family Guy, went like, "You're your own gravitational field," and yeah, just I love that. The TV just spinning around him very slowly.
What the hell is this?
Like, oh my god! Isn't Stewie getting thrown? He's like, put me down! I don't remember. Well, I think we're digressing off into oblivion, so we'll just call an episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Sorry for the little bit of the delay, but
Times.
But remember,
Same batch channel.
but they don't know about the delay.
no, there should have been one last week.
Oh, that's true. I was gonna say, but they didn't know about the mic, even though we told them. Yeah, life just gets in the way.
Yeah.
We try to be consistent, but
College,
sometimes
work, fall is here.
Yeah,
You know?
life, yeah.
Yeah, adulting to do.
Yeah.
But we try to be pretty consistent for you, so we're gonna work on making it up. We're gonna try to get the things rolling back a little bit more consistent.
Hell yeah. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week as well.
Peace.
The universe itself keeps on expanding and expanding in all of the directions it can whiz. As fast as it can go, at the speed of light, 12 million miles a minute, and that's the fastest speed there is. So remember, when you're feeling very small and insecure, how amazingly unlikely is your birth. And pray that there's intelligent life somewhere out in space, 'cause there's bugger all down here on Earth.